I was 21 when I met him, and I knew from the first moment that loving him would cost me everything. My name is Zunri. I grew up in a house where my father's word was law. He wasn't cruel, not in the way that leaves bruises. He was just certain. Certain that he knew what was best for his daughters. Certain that his way was the only way. Certain that love was a luxury, not a necessity. Lila, my older sister, learned to navigate his certainty. She smiled, nodded, and did what she wanted when he wasn't looking. Lily, my younger sister, was still too young to understand. She believed our father knew everything. I was the one in the middle, the one who wanted to please him, but also wanted to live my own life. Then I met him. He worked at a small garage on the edge of town, fixing cars for people who couldn't afford dealership prices. He wasn't rich. He wasn't educated. He wasn't anything my father would ever approve of. But when he looked at me, I felt seen. Really seen. Not as my father's daughter, not as Lila's sister, not as Lily's protector, just as myself. We met by accident. My car broke down on the way home from college, and his garage was the only one open. He fixed it in an hour and charged me half of what he should have. When I tried to pay full price, he shook his head. Keep it. Buy yourself something nice. I went back the next week. For an oil change I didn't need. Then the week after. For a tire rotation. He knew what I was doing. I knew he knew. Neither of us said anything. Finally, he asked me to coffee. I said yes. For 6 months, we met in secret. He'd pick me up after my classes, and we'd drive to a small lake outside town. We'd sit on the hood of his old truck and talk about everything. His dreams of opening his own garage someday. My dreams of becoming a teacher. The future we both wanted but couldn't quite reach. I never told my father. I knew what would happen. But Lila knew. Lila always knew. She'd cover for me when I came home late, inventing study groups and late library hours. She never judged, never questioned. She just smiled and said, "Be happy, Zunri. You deserve it." Lily was too young to notice. She was 15, lost in her own world of friends and school and first crushes. I envied her innocence. Then my father found out. I don't know how. Maybe a neighbor saw us. Maybe he followed me one night. Maybe someone told him. It doesn't matter. What matters is that one evening, I came home and he was waiting at the kitchen table, his face carved from stone. "Sit down, Zunri." He said, "I know about the boy, the mechanic." My heart stopped. "Dad." "No." His voice was quiet, which was worse than shouting. "You will not see him again. You will finish your degree. You will marry someone worthy of you. Someone with a future." He has a future. He's going to open his own garage. A garage. My father's laugh was cold. He'll spend his life with grease under his nails, barely making rent. That's not a future. That's survival. I wanted to argue. I wanted to scream. But I'd learned long ago that arguing with my father was like arguing with a wall. He didn't hear. He only waited for you to stop talking so he could start again. "It's over," he said. "You'll tell him tomorrow. And if you don't, I will." I went to my room and cried until I had no tears left. Lila came in and held me, saying nothing, just letting me fall apart in her arms. The next day, I went to the garage and told him it was over. He didn't believe me at first. "Why? What happened? Did I do something wrong?" "No. You didn't do anything wrong. My father just, he won't accept this. He won't accept us." "I don't need your father to accept me. I just need you. You don't understand. If I choose you, I lose everything. My family, my home, my sisters." He looked at me for a long moment. I saw the pain in his eyes, the disbelief, the hope that I'd change my mind. "Is that your choice then? Them over me?" I couldn't speak. I just nodded. He didn't beg, didn't argue, didn't make it harder. He just nodded, kissed my forehead one last time and said, "I hope you're happy, Zunri. I really do. Then he walked away. I didn't see him again for 10 years. I did what my father wanted. I finished my degree. I got a job teaching at an elementary school, respectable and steady. I dated the men my father approved of, an accountant, a dentist, a pharmacist. I smiled at them, laughed at their jokes, let them take me to expensive dinners. But I didn't love them. I couldn't. When I was 28, my father introduced me to a man named Marcus. He was a lawyer, successful and ambitious, everything my father had ever wanted for me. He was also cold, distant, and more in love with his career than he'd ever be with me. I married him anyway. The wedding was enormous. 400 guests, a church, a reception at the country club. My father beamed the entire time. This was what he'd always wanted. His daughter settled, secure, successful. Lila stood beside me as my maid of honor, but her smile was sad. She knew. She always knew. Lily was a bridesmaid, 20 years old now, too young to understand why her sister looked like she was walking to her own execution. I walked down the aisle, said my vows, kissed my husband, and felt nothing. For 3 years I lived that life. A beautiful house, a successful husband, dinners with important people, vacations to places I'd never dreamed of visiting. Everything I was supposed to want. I was miserable. Marcus and I grew apart quickly. He worked all the time. When he was home, he was distant, scrolling through his phone, barely acknowledging me. We had no children, no real connection, no reason to stay together except appearances. My father refused to accept that the marriage was failing. You made a commitment, he said. You see it through. So I stayed. Then, on our 3rd anniversary, Marcus announced he was throwing a party. A huge one, at our house, with all his colleagues and clients and important people. Good for business, he said. Good for my image. I spent weeks planning it. Caterers, florists, a band, a guest list that seemed to grow every day. I threw myself into the work because it was easier than thinking about my life. The night of the party arrived. I wore a silver dress Lila had helped me pick, did my hair the way Lily showed me, put on the diamond necklace Marcus had given me as a wedding gift. I looked the part. The perfect wife. The perfect hostess. The house filled with people. Lawyers and judges and politicians and their wives. Champagne flowed. Music played. Laughter echoed off the walls. I moved through the crowd, smiling, nodding, saying the right things. No one knew that inside I was screaming. Then I saw him. He was standing near the bar, talking to someone, laughing at something. He looked different. Older. More confident. Wearing a suit that actually fit, clean-shaven, hair neatly cut. But I would have known him anywhere. He looked up, and our eyes met. The world stopped. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he excused himself from the conversation and walked toward me. Slowly. Deliberately. Like he'd been waiting for this moment for 10 years. Zunri. His voice. That voice I'd heard in my dreams 1,000 times. You look beautiful. I couldn't speak. I just stared at him, my heart pounding so hard I was sure everyone could hear it. I know this is a surprise, he said. I'm here with a client. I didn't know this was your house. I didn't know you were married. I am. The words came out barely a whisper. For 3 years now. He nodded slowly. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make this awkward. I wanted to see you. To say hello. To see how you're doing. Fine. The lie came automatically. I'm good. Everything is good. He looked at me for a long moment, and I knew he didn't believe me. He always could see through me. I own the garage now, he said. The one I always talked about. Expanded it last year. We have 12 employees. I'm doing well. I'm glad. I always knew you would. Did you? There was no accusation in his voice. Just curiosity. You didn't seem to think so back then. That wasn't me. That was my father. I know. He paused. How is he? Old. Tired. still certain he knows everything. He almost smiled. Some things don't change. Before I could respond, Marcus appeared beside me, sliding an arm around my waist. Zunri, who's your friend? I introduced them. They shook hands. Marcus asked what he did. He told him about the garage. Marcus nodded politely, clearly unimpressed, and then steered me away to meet more important people. I spent the rest of the night aware of exactly where he was in the room. I saw him leave around midnight, glancing back once before walking out the door. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I found a note slipped under the front door. Just his name and a phone number. Nothing else. I kept it hidden for a week, then a month, then 3. I looked at it every day but never called. What would I say? What could I say? Then my father got sick. It happened fast. 1 month he was fine. The next he was in the hospital, his heart failing, his body giving up. I sat by his bed every day, holding his hand, watching him fade. One afternoon, he looked at me with eyes that seemed to see everything. I was wrong, he whispered. About what? About him, the boy from the garage. I was wrong. I stared at him. What do you mean? I've been watching him all these years, reading about him in the paper. He's done well for himself, built something real. And I thought maybe I made a mistake. Tears filled my eyes. Why are you telling me this now? Because I'm dying, and I don't want to die knowing I kept you from happiness. I didn't know what to say, so I just held his hand and cried. He died 3 days later. After the funeral, after the grief, after the numbness began to fade, I made a decision. I divorced Marcus. It was expensive and messy, and my father's friends all whispered about it. But I didn't care. Then I found the note, the one with his number. I stared at it for a long time before dialing. He answered on the second ring. Hello. It's Zunri. Silence. Then, I was hoping you'd call. We met for coffee the next day, then dinner, then more dinners. We talked for hours about everything we'd missed. The years apart, the lives we'd built, the choices we'd made. One night, sitting on the hood of his truck by the same lake where we'd spent so much time, he turned to me. I never stopped loving you, he said. Not for one single day. I never stopped loving you either. So what now? I thought about my father, about his last words, about the years I'd wasted. Now we stopped wasting time. We got married 6 months later. Small ceremony, just family. Lila was my matron of honor, crying happy tears. Lily was a bridesmaid, finally old enough to understand. My father wasn't there, but somehow, I felt him watching, and I think for the first time he was proud. I chose my father over the man I loved. Then I saw him at my wedding reception. Not my wedding to him, my wedding to someone else. But in the end, love found a way. It always does.